Hey guys, how y'all doing? How y'all doing? Yeah, hi all y'all. I'm on Leo in the eighth house, and also talking about Marie Lavigne of New Orleans, the Voodoo Princess, the Retrograde, which is in Libra, full moon in Pisces. Okay. Mainly Marie Lavigne because it's kind of my familia, kind of my family. So I want to know more about her. Maybe y'all are interested as well. And then the full moon being in Pisces, she's a Virgo. She's born on September 10th. And opposite for Virgo is Pisces. So we'll talk about some different things. Okay, let's go. I'm going to read about her first. Those who want to hear, hear. If you don't, whatever. Um, yeah. Marie Lavigne, also spelled uh, born 1801 in New Orleans, Louisiana, died June 15, 1881. So she was born on September 10th, 1801. Lavigne's powers reportedly included healing the sick, extending gifts to the poor, and overseeing spiritual rites. Now, I probably have to switch from back and forth to websites, and I'm writing down some things too. Okay, gives to the poor and overseeing spiritual rights. Okay, she was based in New Orleans, Louisiana. There's some confusion regarding her year of birth. Some documents indicate that she was born in 1794, while other researchers supported 1801 as the year of her birth. She is said to have been born to an African woman named Margarita Carcantel, Carcantel, and Charles Levy. Marie married a Creole man, so her mama was Marguerite. I think did I write this down? Let me see something. Sometimes I be writing stuff and then end up writing it again. Feel like I did. Maybe not. This is how we do it. Mm. This okay. Anyway, so happy early birthday. Okay, her mom's name was Marguerite, Darcantel, and father Charles, Lavie. She married a Creole man from Santo Domingo, so she married a Haitian. She married a Haitian, which is also my people, named Jacques Paris. He reportedly disappeared and was later reported dead. Okay. Upon his disappearance, LaVie began referring to herself as the widow Paris. After the reported death of her husband, she started a relationship with John Louis Christopher Dumais da Galapion, something like that. I don't know. I'm trying to do my little French, but I don't know. Together they had several children. So she married first husband, second. She married Jean. Louise Christophe Christophe Dominique Dominique D. Frenchmen have a long long name. Yeah. Together they had several children, some of whom were victims of a various yellow fever outbreaks that plagued New Orleans due to the city's poor drainage system. Okay. So yellow fever was during those times. Okay. To the poor drainage systems. Interesting. Although Laveau was a committed mother and wife, much of her priority in caretaking was extended to her spiritual children and the general community. Lavigne became a hairdresser to create economic stability for herself and her family. Then interaction with her black clients who were house servants. She was exposed to personal information about her wealthy white clients who often sought her counsel. Levy used this information to give informed counsel to people who sought advice from her concerning their personal affairs. Many wealthy and political affluent individuals, both white and black, paid Levine for personal advice, intervention in some situations, and protection against any evil energy that might have been placed against them. Okay. Voodoo in New Orleans. Voodoo as a religious system is derived from spiritual practices from the Hami, I might be pronouncing that wrong, the historical Western African kingdom located at the what is now Benin. Okay. Voodoo is actually a Fon word that means spirit or deity. Voodoo was transported to the United States during the transatlantic slave trade. Sorry, African religion was brought to New Orleans first by the initial group of enslaved Africans from Western Africa. After the revolution in San Domingo, 1791-1804, another wave of African people brought their religion to New Orleans. The voodoo tradition was strengthened and reinforced by the free and enslaved African community of New Orleans. It's important to note that the practice of voodoo in New Orleans is not the purest manifestation of voodoo as it was known in Dahomey. Also, it is not the same religious system that is observed in Haiti. Domingue was isolated, and religious and cultural practices were maintained and sustained. However, in New Orleans, Buddhism had to adhere to strict European laws, codes, and oppression associated with enslavement. Voodoo was often under scrutiny by public officials and the law. Nevertheless, voodoo held a strong presence in New Orleans throughout the centuries, and voodoo ceremonies and activities took place at various sites around the city. Voodoo in New Orleans consisted of root work and GRIS, okay, Bru- Bruce, or Juju. People would seek out uh, conjurers or other spiritualists for spiritual intervention or protection in their daily affairs. These favors range from those concerning love to political influence. Although most workers used their powers for positive forces, there were some who did not. It was probably the work of this small percentage of people that was sensationalized by people outside of the religion. This aspect of religion became known as hoodoo and is often the basis for a misconception that public society has about voodoo. So both are positive and negative, as is everything, right? Said by some to be granddaughter of, well, okay. She's said by some to be the granddaughter of a powerful priestess in San Domingo. See how high priestess, right? The voodoo queen. Levy reportedly had a familiar background in African spirituality. She was drawn to religion after the death of her mother. Levine underwent the tutelage of Dr. John Bayou, a well-known a conjurer. I want to say that word. I'll write that Senegales, conjurer. Not root. I mean a root worker. Okay. She did not take long to dominate the culture and society of voodoo in New Orleans. As a queen of several decades, Levine was mother to many. People sought her advice for marital affairs, domestic disputes, judicial issues, childbearing, finances, health, and good luck. She would in turn counsel her practitioners by supplying them with advice or with protective spiritual objects such as candles, powder, and assortment of other items mixed together to create a juju. As Queen Levine predominantly orchestrated rituals at three main sites, her home on St. Anne Street, Congo Square, and Lake Pontchartrain. At her home on St. Anne Street, Levine would converse with clients who would meet with her regarding any issue they were having. In her backyard, she would also have ceremonies that conjured the spirit of Great Zombie and the deity Dambella Widu, who would manifest through a snake. The second major ritualistic space, Congo Square, was a public square that was set aside by city officials as a gathering place for both enslaved and free African people. Hold on, y'all. Levine would gather her followers here on Sunday to dance and worship. No major ceremonies would take place here, but it was a place of spiritual gathering and rejuvenation for Africans who experienced major oppression and hardships both on the plantation and as free citizens. The last place of significance that was presided over by Levine was Bayou St. John's, which was located on the shore of Lake Pontchartrain. It was here that major ceremonies took place among the initiate in the religion. Levine would often be accompanied by her king or a second-ranking male official. Singing, dancing, drumming, and spiritual possession would occur in these gatherings. Curious white people would often sneak into the woods to witness these ceremonies. For sensationalism, they would often report extreme tales of what they witnessed. Rivals of Marie Lavigne. There were often rivals over who would rule the voodoo system in New Orleans. Before Lavigne took reign, there were two women who preceded her as queen. The first was Santee Didi, who ruled for several years before she was ushered by Marie, took over by Marie Salot, who introduced Lavigne to the religion and provided her with her fundamental tutelage. After taking a prominent stand as voodoo queen, Lavigne reigned unchallenged until 1850, when another Creole woman named Ro- Rosalie attempted to challenge her position to create an aura of fear and awe. Rosalie placed a huge life-size wooden doll in her yard that was said to have been imported from Africa. The statue was covered with beads and intricate carvings. When people in the voodoo community began became expressing fear and respect for Rosie because of the doll, Levine stole the statue. She was taken to court by Rosie, but used her persuasive powers and influence to have the doll permanently removed. There were several other root workers in voodooism who gathered mild attention during Levine's reign. Survival of voodoo. During the latter years of her life, Levine had to move her practices across the Mississippi River to an area of New Orleans known as Algiers. Okay, so she was from Mississippi too. So was she from Mississippi? Algiers was the first point of arrival of enslaved African people in New Orleans and also the birthplace of voodoo in New Orleans. After Levine's death in 1881, voodoo in New Orleans lost a great deal of its adherents as more people began assimilating economically and socially. The need to depend on the ancient rites and traditions of old-time religion decreased. Voodoo began taking on new forms, becoming incorporated into other religions. Lavigne is buried at St. Louis Cemetery, number 1. Each year, thousands of visitors flock to her tomb and adore her plot with spiritual regala, Regalia, candles, money, flowers, and assorted personal items. Faith healing, recourse to divine power to cure mental and physical disabilities, either in conjunction with orthodox medicine care or in place of it. Often an intermediary is involved whose intercourse indecision may be all important in affecting the desired cure. Sometimes the faith may reside in a particular place, which then becomes a focus of pilgrimage for the suffering. So even while she's deceased, people still feel like they can go to her grave and still get what they need as this day. Okay, I'm gonna read another one of her. Marie Lavigne, September 10th, 1801, June. She died in Gemini season. Okay. And that's interesting to me because both of them Mercury season. She was born in Mercury and Virgo, right? And then she died in Gemini and Mercury. Was a Louisiana Creole practitioner, voodoo herbalist, midwife who was renowned in New Orleans. Her daughter, Marie Levine II, 1827. So, daughter, Marie Levine II. She also practiced root work, conjuring, Native American, and African spiritualism, as well as Louisiana voodoo. An alternate spelling of her name is considered by historians to be from the original French spelling. I was trying to find, I can't find it in it. Let me see if I can find it. History records state that Marie, I was trying to find about her parents. Um, I think it's her parents. Is it her parents? Or is it her? Her parents, one of them. The children were stolen, and still trying to find out who my grandma people and well, children were stolen in Haitian. They were somebody. Was it her and her husband? Because he was Haitian. Anyway, the kids were stolen, and I was trying to find out about that. Uh, History records state that Marie Catherine Levy was born a free woman of color in Colony, New Orleans, today's French Quarter, Louisiana, New France, Thursday, September 10, 1801. She was the biological daughter of Charles Levine Trudeau, a white Frenchman. See, that's what people are. He was half white. He was a Frenchman and a politician. And her mother, so that means he was half white and half black, right? And her mother, which is Marguerite, a free woman of color who was white, she was black and Native American. So is that why she was so powerful? Because she was which I would call a zebra, a half breed, a hybrid, whatever the deal is. But I think that's because she had the best of all the worlds inside of her. Okay. And that's a lot of us who don't know. By having these mixed things inside, like I said before about having these entities, these extraterrestrials and different ones, all that bloodline, we ain't even tapping into half of who we really are. Some historians claim that Marie Levine's father was a black man named Charles Levine. However, this claim is false due to the lack of evidence to support this theory. On August 4th, 1819, she married Jacques Paris, is known as Jacques Santiago in Spanish. So he was half Spanish and white. Okay. A quadroon free man of color. So he was all three. He was Spanish, white, and he was black. Who had fled as a refuge from the Haitian Revolution. Yes, and Haitian. Refuge. Refugee. A revolution. In the former French colony Saint Domingo. Mink. Mink. I mean, how you say it. Their marriage certificate was preserved in the St. Louis Cathedral in New Orleans. The wedding mass was performed by Father Antonio Disapella and priest known as Peter Anthony. Jacques was part of a large white and Creole of color immigration of refugees to New Orleans in 1809. After the Haitian Revolution in 1791 and 1804, they had two daughters, Felicity in 1817 and Angela in 1820, but both disappeared. See what I'm saying? So they were born in 1817, Felice, Felicity, and then Angela in 1820. It was her children that disappeared. Still questioned by my grandma. Jacques Santiago Paris worked as a carpenter. The death of Jacques Paris was recorded in 1820. Personal life. Following the reported death of her husband, she entered a domestic partnership with Christopher, married again, a nobleman of French descent, with whom she lived until she died in 1855. They reported to have had 15 children. She had 15 children with the second husband. It is unclear if that includes children and grandchildren, and they had 7 children according to birth and baptism records. Francisco, Augusta, Galupo, they named the name of them all. Okay. The only 2 children to survive until adulthood were daughters, an elder named Marie Levy and the younger named Marie. Both of them named Marie. Okay. Marie is confirmed to have owned at least 7 slaves during her lifetime. During her life, Marie was known to have attended to prisoners who were sentenced to death. Rumor, see, my grandma was that type of person. She would visit people in the hospital. So she tended to prisoners sentenced to death. Rumors circulated that some prisoners would receive poisons or other substance before going to the gallows, but this was never proven. Oh, so they wanted to say, well, just kill me now. She helped them, whatever, I'm saying, whatever issues they had. Okay. A report from the New Orleans Republican detailed one such visit in an article published on May 14, 1871, in which he described Marie as a devout and acceptable member of the Catholic communion. Following her death, her daughter, Philomene, confirmed during an interview with a reporter from PICAYUNE that only Catholic traditions would take place during these visits, and that her mother would also prepare the men's last meal and pray with them. Marie Levine also sought pardons or commutations of sentences from those she favored, and was often success in her efforts. So you help some leave too, some get out of jail. Okay, so they would basically feed them. So we wouldn't hear of that today, would we? We wouldn't hear of. That's why my Kim Kardashian, she is trying to do something, and Kanye was trying to do something, and to leave them just to think about to be somewhere that isolated from everyone. I was trying to figure out how to just write them, you know, but that became a challenge at the time. She was known to care for the sick in her community during the yellow fever epidemic of 1878 by providing herbal medicine, remedies and prayers for the afflicted. Her other community activities included visiting prisoners, providing lessons to the women of the community, and doing rituals for those in need without charge. She was a dedicated practitioner of voodoo as well as a healer and herbalist. She was to have traveled the streets like she owned them, said one New Orleans boy who attended an event in St. John's. Her daughter Marie displayed more theatrical rubrics by holding public events, including inviting attendees to St. John's Eve rituals on Bayou St. John. It is not known which, if either, had done more to establish the Voodoo Queen reputation. She was also known as female religious leader and community activist. She started a beauty parlor, we read that, where she was a hairdresser for the wealthy families of New Orleans. She excelled in obtaining information, listening to the latest gossip, all that stuff. She used this information during her voodoo consent. Okay. She also made money by selling her clients juju as charms to help their wishes come true. Marie Lavigne took short time to dominate voodoo culture and society in the New Orleans area before becoming locally accepted as the queen of voodoo. During her decades as queen, customers often appeared to her for help with family disputes, health, finances. We've seen that. Perform her services in three main places: her home on uh, with, within Gold Square and Lake Pontchartrain. She was the third female leader of the Voodoo in New Orleans. Okay, we read who they were. Maintained her authority throughout her leadership, although there was an attempt to challenge her. We read that. A magical career, there is little that can be sustained, including whether or not she had a snake she named Zombie after an African god, whether the occult part of her magic mixed Roman Catholic saints with African spirits and Native American spiritualism. So she created all of them together. Um, Her legacy, name, and her history have been surrounded by legends and lore. She is generally believed to have been buried in plot 347, which equals 11, 12, 13, 14, which equals 5. The Galpo family crypt in St. Louis Cemetery Number 1, New Orleans, but this has been disputed by Robert Tilley, a journalist who used her as a character in historical novels. Tourists continue to visit and some draw X marks on accordance with the decades old tradition that if people wanted Levine to grant them a wish, they had to draw an X on the tomb. Turn around 3 times, knock on the tomb, turn around, knock on the tomb, yell out their wish. And if it was granted, come back, circle their X. And leave her an offering, which is on the right. If I'm feeding you and giving you, you know what I'm saying, your wish is coming true and giving you insights, that's only fair. In 1882, New Jersey-based punk rock group The Misfits were arrested and accused of attempting to exhume Levine from her grave after a local concert. What the hell? The arrest took place in nearby cemetery number 2, and there are conflicting accounts of the incident. The tomb at St. Louis Cemetery number 1 was vandalized by an unknown person on December 17, 2013, by being painted over with pink latex paint. The paint was removed because the structure is made of old plaster and the latex paint was sealed in the moisture that would destroy the plaster. Some historical expert criticized the decision by officials of the somebody of New Orleans who maintained the ceremony for their decision to use pressure washing rather than paint strippers to remove it. As of March 1st, 2017, there is no longer public access to St. Louis Cemetery. En- Enter with a tour guide is required because of continued vandalism and the destruction of tombs. This change was made by Archdiocese Archdiocese of New Orleans to protect the tombs of Levine's family, as well as those of the many other dead interred there. Although some reference to Marie Levine in popular culture refer to her as a witch, she has also been called a voodoo princess, and she is frequently described as a voodoo queen. At the time of her death, the New York Times, the New Orleans Daily, and other news sources described her as a woman of great beauty, intelligence, and charisma, who was also pious and charitable and a skilled herbal healer. Okay, let's see. Okay, what else I want to say about her? Oh, okay. Do they celebrate her today? That's what I want to know. Voodoo Princess Marie Lavigne created New Orleans Midsummer Festival. So Midsummer Festival. Mardi Gras may be the city's biggest party, but St. John's Eve is its most important religious festival. Is St. John's Eve, a holiday celebrated at spots around the globe and closer to home in New Orleans. So, what day is that? Falling on June 23rd, St. John's Eve is one of the many celebrations of the summer solstice that occur around the world, writes Maria, Scientific American, with the rise of Christianity and accompanying threat to pagan tradition. Treat a threat, no. The summer solstice became celebrated in many parts of Europe as a day of St. John the Baptist, St. John's Eve in Denmark, the Feast of St. John in France, and the Festival of St. John the Baptist in Spain. Ivan Kapala Day in Russia, the Festival of Ivan in Croatia. In New Orleans, the holiday gets a uniquely voodoo twist. It is traditionally celebrated with a head washing ceremony that honors the priestess who started the tradition, as well as carrying echoes of baptism. The New Orleans version of the holiday stretches back to the 1830s when famed voodoo princess Marie Levine started hosting annual feasts on the banks of Lake Pontchartrain. Witnesses said Levine's annual feast, which included a head washing ritual, was a blend between a gospel revival and jazz festival. These big public parties were a departure from previous voodoo celebrations in New Orleans, writes. Many people, particularly enslaved black people, came to New Orleans from Haiti in the early 1800s, she wrote. Haiti was the throes of a revolution, and New Orleans elites in the early years of 19th century was terrified a similar uprising might happen there, she writes. So the city council enacted a law that mostly prevented black city residents from getting together in big groups. Therefore, voodoo rituals of the day had to be hidden for view, much meant in the days before the city's vast cypress forests were drained and developed. They moved into the swamps. Okay, so they moved to take it to the swamps. That Levine was able to hold her celebration with more publicity speaks to her hold in New Orleans public life. But it was more than just a party. New Orleans voodoo, which modern scholars suggest should be spelled Vodou, practice revolved around priests and priestesses, who are community heads as well as spiritual leaders. Levine was the most well known, he writes. One of the reasons for that is that Levine is credited with bringing voodoo into the open and displaying it for white voyagers. The result was a celebration that attracted thousands of curious seekers, journalists, and freelance writers. But these curiosity seekers, the reporters noted, sometimes wondered if they were getting the real deal. It is generally known that Marie welcomed writers whites to this particular Saturnalia, Saturnalia, and it is often remarked that it was decode the real worship of voodoo taking place at other times in remote regions of the swamp. And Levine, hairdresser born of Creole mother and white father, was the most famous and purportedly the most powerful of the city's voodoo practitioners in the 19th century. Combined of herbs, oils, stones, bones, hair, nails, and grave dirt, told fortunes and gave advice to New Orleans residents. Every uh, Strama, Strata, Levine's life and afterlife. Her tomb is still such a visit attraction. Okay, so I just wanted to see whether did they actually celebrate her today. Just the Midsummer Festival. Many faces of Marie Laveau celebrating a true New Orleans icon. Remember those reports that we had to do in elementary school, the reports where our teachers made us choose a famous person in history. Okay. Seriously, I just did a Google search on her, and one of the first links the search page started. Look, Marie Laveau, Witch Queen of New Orleans, Witch Queen. Totally misleading, in my opinion. This was not the figure that I had researched when I was a kid. I would never call the woman whose grave I had visited in St. Louis Cemetery a witch queen. is often associated as occult, black magic, or even just basic evil. To me, she represented much more than that. On September 10th, her birthday, the Red Star Gallery is commemorating a life of this icon figure to celebrate her that exists outside of voodoo. A historian, amalgamation of her daughter and mother and daughter. This event will feature appearances by priestess Marine Chapman, music Bruce. Is this year? Yeah, no, that was in 2010. Okay, so it's called Red Star Galaxy. When asked about the importance of creating a piece of this event, Marie Levine represents to me really what this city is all about. The persuasiveness, the mysterious, the dramatic nature that embodies her, and this city makes it impossible for her to exist anywhere else. She is commonly mischaracterized because of voodoo. What falls by the wayside is that Marie Levine was a devoted Catholic, and she used her position in order to do what she did for slaves in her day by using the money she made as a hairdresser in order to purchase freedom for people of color. Okay. This event starts at 7 o'clock in the evening and is free to the public. Come and learn about the woman who once had her finger on the pulse of New Orleans society and used that power in order to serve the people of the city. Interesting. Okay. Let me ask Google. Celebration on Marie Levine's birthday. So Adam Levine, the singer, is kin to her grandchild. Yeah, this be me. So I guess all these people is his grandchildren or something. Or grandchildren. Trying to see. Damn, this got a little mosquito up this little ass in here. I ain't got no door open. So how your little ass get in here? So Adam Levine. Hmm. I heard of him. Seen him in a lot of stuff. In fact, I like him. He play on celebrity thing where they people come and sing, hidden singing or whatever. I have to find out more about that. Okay, so that's what I wanted to know because her birthday is in 2 days, and that's the day of the full moon as well. Interesting to me. Okay, what else I had? Okay, will be affected. Yeah, it's a good question of how powerful she is because she has all white, black, African, Native American, British in her. Family, mom and dad, siblings, her children with that high priestess. Haitians, the Congo, Benin, and Africa. What was her services? We saw that. She performed in some believe she still does. Okay. Now it's another one, another high priestess, but I'm gonna save her. What happens in on her birthday? We just seen that they celebrated. What season are we going through? Is it the end of the summer or uh, summer solstice? So they said something about the midsummer. It was in June. Okay, so we got the Rare Star Gallery, Mississippi, New Orleans. For respect's sake, it's a new high priestess. She's from Mississippi. Miriam Chamani, Chamani, Mary Robin Adams, new high priestess in New Orleans. Okay. Is one of the most prominent voodoo queens in contemporary New Orleans. She has been providing spiritual services to the New Orleans community since she moved with her husband, priest Oswin Chamani, to New Orleans in 1990 to found the Voodoo Spiritual Temple. Since her husband's death in 1995, she has overseen the New Orleans Voodoo Spiritual Temple and Cultural Center, where she provides readings, rituals, and other spiritual services. The temple, located in French Quarter across from the entrance to Armstrong Park, focuses on West African spiritual and herbal healing. Born to sharecroppers in um, who's that Indian girl now? Pocahontas, Mississippi on March the 8th. So she's Pisces. Interesting. All right. So she's Pisces. She was born March 8th. So this is her full moon coming up. Mary Robin Adams took on the model priest Marina when she began her spiritual work. Oh, she took on the name. Okay. Away from her home state, raised deeply Baptist in post World War II Mississippi. She showed an early inclination toward religiosity as her family remembers her speaking to spirits as a child. To escape the harsh Jim Crow era South, she left to work in New York as a domestic in 1962, only 4 days after graduating from high school in New York as a domestic. Okay, so she was born in Mississippi. Yeah. Okay. After working as a housekeeper in New York for several years, she moved to Chicago and began a nursing program in the fall of 1966. There, she was introduced to the spiritual church, which incorporated voodoo as well as Protestant Protestant Catholic, and Native American religious components. She became involved with Angel, All Nations Spiritual Church on Chicago's South Side, and she was ordained and served as a bishop there for 1982 to 1989. In 1989, she met Oswin Shamani, a priest of Obeah, an Afro-American folk magic and belief system of his native Belize, Belize. Obi, like Voodoo, Santeria, and Shango, has roots as a form of resistance in New World African slave cultures. Him and her soon left Chicago for New Orleans and married in 1990. They performed divination readings at Marie Lavigne's House of Voodoo and were involved with the New Orleans Historic Voodoo Museum before establishing a Voodoo Spiritual Temple. Temple gatherings took place in Marie and Osborne living room until 1994, when the temple opened its current location on Rampart Street. Priest Oswin died in 1995, but not before he had shared with her his extensive knowledge of herbs used for spiritual and physical healing, which she continues to utilize at the Voodoo Spiritual Temple. Priestess Marine has linked her medical training with her spiritual preparation, noting that Marie Lavigne used her pharmacological knowledge of herbs both in her work nursing and sick during yellow fever outbreaks and in providing spiritual services. She combines her medical knowledge, her spiritual church training, and the spiritual and herbal healing techniques she learned from her husband to serve those who visit the Voodoo Temple, spiritual temple. She holds readings and consultations at the temple and performs rituals in the courtyard. She often gives interviews with the news and entertainment media and has advised on voodoo practices for Hollywood films, such as Skeleton Key. Hmm. Okay. Okay, we got. So I didn't realize everything was still in Mercury and Libra since August 25th to September 23rd of this year. Now it's retrograde in Libra. It's a lot of Libra. No wonder the reading was about, but it was all face down. So that's what threw me. Because why would justice, Venus, be all put down? So Is that a disrespect? That's what I wanted to know. Is New Orleans people part of Atlantis? Okay, with the weird water gods of the old creation. The weird. Okay, I want to know that too. Um, are the people of New Orleans part of Atlantis? It says New Orleans, the new Atlantis. January 21st, 2000, University of New Orleans, with predicted sea level rise, wetland loss, sustenance, and the absence of restoration programs. The future of New Orleans appears bleak. Research from University of New Orleans scientists examine the processes driving catastrophic, catastrophic coastal conditions and the breakdown of Mississippi River Delta. With predicted sea level rise, wetland loss, substance, and the absence of, okay, the future of, okay, we already read that. By 2100, the city of New Orleans may be extinct, submerged in water, a future akin to the fabled sunken city of Atlantis. Yes, act according to Dr. Chip Grott, Director of United States, whatever, blah, 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 Washington, D.C., with the project rate of substantial the natural sinking of land, wetland loss, and sea level rise. He said New Orleans will likely be on the verge of extinction by this time next century. University of New Orleans coastal, whatever, all these names, Lord have mercy, have spent their careers combined 40 years figuring out exactly what is driving this catastrophic condition. The research has identified the specific problems jeopardizing the future of New Orleans and southern Louisiana. We have the greatest coastal land loss problem in North America. This is more than a serious problem, it is a catastrophe. We're living on the verge of coastal collapse. Current 40% of coastal coast wetlands in the United States are located in Louisiana. 80% of wetland loss in our nation occurs in Louisiana. From 1930 to 1990, Mississippi River Delta lost more than 1,000 square miles of land. Over the last 50 years, land loss rates had accelerated from 10 miles to 40 miles per year by the 1970s, with the current rate being approximately 25 square miles or 16,000 acres of wetland a year. Coastal Louisiana is poised to lose more than 10,000 acres a year foreseeable future. New Orleans is sinking 3 feet per century, 8 times faster than the worldwide rate, only zero point 0.4 feet. Many of the low-bearing islands will disappear by 2050. Scientists suggest that without appropriate restoration efforts, Louisiana faces continual wetland loss, deterioration of Mississippi River Delta, the largest and the most economically profitable in the nation, and the possible collapse of the entire ecosystem. Okay, interesting, no? Uh, Today, Penland Reed and other universal centers scientists continue to work on the issue, restoring barrier. Okay, okay. Island working on 5 million contract with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to document and assist in the beneficial use of materials, studying the biochemical of the waterways, detecting and measuring water stratification such as that associated with the dead zone offshore in the Gulf, engaged in a long-term establishment. Sorry. Training the next generation of students with coastal restoration courses and much more. I don't know if y'all, if I'm just be quiet. Still not finding an answer to that. Okay, so we're gonna leave that question alone. Okay, now the planet Mercury. The planet Mercury. Briefly, history. It's made of iron, right? The planet is terrestrial. Terrestrial meaning it that it has a solid surface and is mainly made of sulcate rocks or metals. The planet Mercury is mainly made up of iron. Mercury has no moons. Temperatures on Mercury are extreme. During the day, temperatures on the surface can reach 800 degrees Fahrenheit because the planet has no atmosphere to retain the heat. Nighttime temperatures on the surface can drop to minus 290 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 180 degrees Celsius. What's special? The closer planet to the sun, the faster it travels. Since Mercury is the fastest planet and has the shortest distance to travel around the sun, it has the shortest year of all the planets in our solar system, 88 days. Can human live on Mercury? All evidence that science has due date indicates that there has never been life on Mercury and never will be. The harsh conditions on the planet's surface and tenacious atmosphere make it impossible for any life form known to man exist. But there are other planets in the solar system. Does Mercury have a dark side? An average dark side temperature 111 Fahrenheit plus 3 minus 3 Fahrenheit K thermal invert of the surface required to fit this temperature is close to that for the moon and indicates that Mercury and the moon have very similar top surface layers. Interesting facts. Mercury is the closest planet to the sun. Mercury is also the smallest planet in the solar system. Not only is Mercury the smallest planet, also shrinking. Mercury has the most craters in the solar system. The biggest crater in Mercury could fit Western Europe. Mercury has water ice and organs. Water ice appears younger than we would expect. Mercury has an atmosphere that changes with its distance to the sun. Mercury's magnetic field is different at its poles. Despite Mercury's weak magnetic field, it behaves similar to Earth. Okay. Mercury in Libra. If you were born with Mercury in Libra, let's see. Friendly, diplomatic, easygoing. Could be a headache sometimes. Mercury, the communication planet, not gets nice and comfortable in the sociable air sign of Libra. The air element is very much about the mind and communication. So, tap me at it any moment. Any moment. The air element is very much about the mind and communication. So Libra matches quite nicely with Mercury. Libra loves to build bridges and find ways to overcome our differences. It knows that there is more than one way to any situation and wants to harmonize opposing points of view. Of course, I have that placement right. Okay. Mercury's entry into this peacemaking sign signals a time when speech becomes a little bit softer to create more harmony in our relationships. Uh, we'll all be a little more apt to bring down the noise level, allowing both sides of an argument to be heard. Because of this, Mercury in Libra is the perfect time to heal wounds caused by arguments or misunderstandings. When Mercury is in Libra, when the planet of speech and the sign of one on one relationships get together, our communication with others comes into focus. This isn't just love relationships we're talking about, it's also about our family, friends, and co workers too. If we had any fights or if we've been holding on to a long time grudge, this is the time to finally put them to rest. Diplomat Diplomacy takes center stage when Mercury is in Libra. Libra is represented by the scale of justice of astrology, so it makes sense that we'll be more objective during this time, attempting to approach every situation in a fair minded and balanced way. Think of this transit as a gentle reminder from the universe on the importance of considering others' perspectives and embracing the beauty of compromise. One challenge of this transit is the tendency to be a little too nice. Don't sugarcoat things or withhold information just to avoid rocking the boat, as kindness could end up being a barrier to real communication. We need to realize there are many ways to connect with someone, and argument is only one of them. Expressing opposing beliefs with respect and openness is a terrific way to strengthen any relationship. Now we go to Mercury retrograde in Libra. It might feel like your love life has gone haywire when a planet that rules communication, perception, and thought retrogrades through the relationship oriented Libra. Mercury retrograde in this sign can feel a bit like a not so welcome blast from the past because this energy likes to stir up drama, causing old relationship issues to reappear. If we've had any resentments in the love department, this is the time when they could come spitting out. This is an especially tough since it might feel like we aren't even speaking the same language as the people we're normally in sync with. Miscommunication can easily happen, and our patience may wear thin. It's best to take a deep breath and try to decipher what others are really trying to say during this Mercury retrograde. If you're born with Mercury in Libra, you're a breath of fresh air, literally. With Mercury in an air sign, you are quite the social butterfly, making friends no matter where you go. People tend to find you very charming, probably because you seem to have a knack for knowing all the right things to say. You like to keep things easy breezy and you relaxed. Go with the flow effort is just another reason you're so well liked. Can't we all just get along? That should be your motto. You often play the peacemaker, avoiding and preventing confrontation if you could, avoiding confrontation if you could. It's your ability to keep an open mind that helps you consider everyone's input and ultimately find a middle ground. This, coupled with your cooperative and tactful nature, is especially helpful in situations that require collaboration or negotiation. Do you find that decisions, no matter how big or small, are nearly impossible to make? You can thank your Mercury. and Libra for that. No one to be reckless or impulsive. You like to weigh all your options before making a move. Spending time considering the pros and cons can come across as indecisiveness to others, but you simply want to ensure the best outcome possible. True that. Art, design, music, literature, these are just a few of your favorite things. You enjoy dabbling in a wide variety of creative and cultural activities and may even pursue a career in one of these areas. Libra, Mercury and Libra traits: flirtatious, objective, kind, sympathetic, charming, agreeable, fair, tactic, and social. Forecast reports. Essential birth report. Get your complete birth chart. Okay. Okay, there's something else. Okay, what else I need? The harvest moon, full moon. Okay. Okay. Soak in the last days of summer because September is a traditional month. As we enter it, the sun is in Virgo, an analytical sign that excels at fixing things. If our lives feel a bit out of kilter in any way, Virgo's diligent nature is exactly what we need to get our lives back in order. Eating healthier, exercising, and organizing our lives is a vibe right now. The biggest astro news of the month is Mercury going retrograde. So prepare for a month of transformation. Mercury will be pedaling backward from September 9th to October 2nd and will visit two signs, Libra and Virgo. The first part of the retrograde will be about seeking balance of September 9th to September 22nd. Will be about seeking balance within our most important relationships. So that's Libra. The second, September 23rd to October 2nd, will be very mental and will be about needing to change the different processes that keep our lives afloat. While Mercury retrogrades be dreaded, they are incredibly useful sometimes to slow down, rethink, and embrace transformation through a deep introspection. An energetic shift occurs when the sun enters Libra on September 22nd, heralding the arrival of the fall equinox. Didn't know that. Oh yeah, of course. Libra on it too. Right. Fall. Okay, I got you. This day brings a perfect balance between day and night, a theme that will be mirrored within our lives over the month ahead. When you spot imbalances, make the necessary adjustment under the fortunate September 25th new moon. Find out what the month ahead does in store for your zodiac sign and September horoscope below. Okay, Aries. For you, the first part of Mercury retrograde, September 9th to September 22nd, will be about redefining an important relationship. The second part of Mercury retrograde, September 23rd to October 2nd, will be about rethinking your lifestyle and work routines so your life can function at its best in the season ahead. Okay. Work hard, play hard is your motto this month. Aries, for you, Virgo season tends to bring a big workload, but also opportunities for networking. If you're considering dating someone you work with, just make sure that mixing business with pleasure isn't risky and that things won't get messy. This is especially true around the September 10th full moon, when the tea could be spilled. For you, the first part of Mercury retrograde, September 9th through September 22nd, will be about redefining an important relationship. If you're committed, renegotiating little things as well as big differences of opinion will be necessary, but could bring you closer together. And luckily, the September 25th new moon brings an opportunity for a new beginning. The second part of Mercury retrograde, September 23rd, October 2nd, will be about rethinking your lifestyle and work routines so your life can function at its best in the season ahead. Taurus, September's vibe could feel a bit strange for you due to Venus, your ruling planet, being in Virgo for most of the month. Virgo is a bit too nitpicking for a sign for the goddess of love and pleasure, which could awaken your inner perfectionism. September's vibe can feel a bit strange for you due to Venus, your ruler planet, la la la. Okay, being in Virgo most of the month. Virgo's okay. Now we read that. A sign for the goddess of love and pleasure, we could awaken your inner perfection. While September is definitely about getting your act together, remember to be gentle with yourself, especially when Mercury goes into retrograde. Retrograde. This retrograde is bound to expose your flaws when it comes to wellness and work-life balance. The great news is that creativity will be highlighted for you during the first part of the month. So if life's changes and hectic energy have been preventing your inspiration to flow, the Sun in Virgo until September 22nd is a perfect opportunity to play and have fun. Once the Sun enters Libra, it looks like you will be pretty busy with work and new business projects for the next 4 weeks. Gemini, your ruler Mercury goes retrograde this month, which means you are up for one of those reinventions you always go through. Gemini, for you, the first part of the retrograde, September 9th to September 22nd, will be more intense as it happens in your sector of home and family. With driven Mars in your sign, you're feeling yourself. Gemini, you have an incredible amount of energy now, so you're most likely getting a lot of stuff done. A career related situation could hit a climax, or a project could come to an end around the September 10th full moon. If you need to make any important decisions, wait a few days, as this lunation will uh, be casting a spell on all of us. Hmm. Your ruler Mercury goes retrograde this month, which means you are up for one of these reinventions you always go through. For you, this first part of retrograde, September 9th through September 22nd, will be more intense as it happens in your sector of home and family. Something will have to change for you to feel more comfortable in your home. It could be a situation with your roommate or with a partner, or perhaps you're feeling a need to give your place a makeover. Okay, let's see. Cancer. Mercury goes retrograde first in your communication sector, September 9th to September 22nd, which might have you revise the work you've been focusing on. The second part of the retrograde, September 23rd to October 2nd, could feel more intense as it will be influencing your home and family sector. At the beginning of the month, you seem to be focused on a communication project, paper, or pitch, which could land you a well deserved amount of money. And lucky you, because you get special help when asteroid Pallas, Pallas, enters your sign on September 6th. Pallas rules wisdom and strategy and has a special ability to unite intuition with reason. Until May 1st, you are being invited to channel her wisdom, Cancer. Mercury goes retrograde first in your communication sector September 9th to September 22nd, which might have you revise the work you've been focusing on. The second part of the retrograde, September 23rd to October 2nd, could feel more intense as it will be influencing your home and family sector, while tough conversations might occur, especially around September 25th new moon. This retrograde will help you move with more ease on October 2nd. October 2nd arrives. Is this year? Yeah, is this year? One more and then I'm come back. Leo, money is also on your mind this month as the Sun and Venus are activating your financial sector. If big changes need to be made, Mercury retrograde here between September 9th and September 22nd will assist you in analyzing your situation and coming up with a better budget that works for you. All things must come to an end, Leo. It's now time to focus on balancing all the summer fun you had. Asteroid Ceres has been in your sign since July 23rd, and as it prepares to spend its last month there, leaving September 29th, you have been invited to take a cold, hard look at your eating habits. Drinking less and eating healthier food could go a long way now, Leo. Money is also on your mind this month as the Sun and Venus are activating your financial sector. You could be focused on making more, but you could also be spending it on petty things or having fun. If big changes need to be made, Mercury's retrograde here between September 9th and September 22nd will assist you in analyzing your situation and coming up with a better budget that works for you. Go ahead and read them all. Virgo, this birthday season has some lessons for you, brought to you by the one and only Mercury retrograde. While the beginning of this event begins in your second house of money and finances, you are bound to feel it more intensely between September 23rd and October 2nd, as it instigates you to reimagine the way you present yourself to the world. Happy birthday! Happy birthday. You're a more behind the scenes kind of soul, but with the Sun and Venus traveling in your sign for most of the month, you're feeling yourself. However, this birthday season has some lessons for you, brought to you by the one and only Mercury retrograde. While the beginning of this event begins in your second house of money and finances, you are bound to feel it more intensely between September 23rd and October 2nd, as it instigates you to reimagine the way you represent yourself to the world. It's reinvention time, Virgo. On September 29th, asteroid Cretes enters your sign, which is vibration, which is a vibration you love. Cretes really resonates with your health focus and nurturing nature, and from now until December 18th, you will find it easier to convey your compassion. For the next few months, you might decide to seek more balance by addressing your physical needs and pampering yourself. You're Libra. You're the star of the show this Mercury retrograde. At the thoughtful planet backpedals first in your sign from September 9th to September 22nd. Perhaps doesn't feel right about the way you express your individuality. Something doesn't feel right. And this event is here to help you find your voice, Libra. In order to do so, you will have to dig deep and seriously embrace introspection. You're the star of the show this Mercury retrograde as a thoughtful planet backpedals first in your sign from September 9th to September 22nd. Something doesn't feel right about the way you express your individuality, and this event is here to help you find your voice, Libra. In order to do so, you will have to dig deep and seriously embrace introspection. You're a people person, and you will soon find out certain people no longer resonate with the image you want to project into the world, and that's okay. Make some radical changes around the September 25th new moon and don't look back. The sun enters your sign on the full equinox, hurdling a 4 week period in which all eyes are on you. Set some intentions on this very special day to activate your powers of manifestation. By mid October, you could really see some sweet results coming your way. Scorpio. Good news, Scorpio. Uranus, the planet that has been creating so much change in your life, is now retrograde, which should feel like a relief. If friendships and partnerships, romantic and business, have been feeling erotic, things begin to mellow out in September. Good news, it repeats itself. Okay. Good news, Scorpio Uranus, the planet that has been creating so much change in your life, is now retrograde, which should feel like a relief. If friendships and partnerships, romantic and business, have been feeling erotic, things begin to mellow out in September. As this planet sleeps, you might have sudden realization and awe moments about why certain things needed to change the way they did. This is also a month of dual energies, Scorpio. The cosmos will have you jumping between periods of deep introspection and days when you will be hustling the network scene. Virgo season is about friendship and connection, but also the time of the year in which it is easier to get back in touch with your biggest hopes and dreams. As Mercury retrogrades, your dreams will become more vivid and your spirituality gets a boost. Sink into this magic during the dreamy September 10th full moon when synchronicities will be all around you. Sagittarius, Virgo season is all about work and big efforts. So if you're not yet into the groove, it's time to get started. Venus enters your career house on September 5th, activating your visibility and amping up your charm around your bosses and peers. No last bite of summer fun for you, Sagittarius. Virgo season is all about work and big efforts. So if you're not yet into the groove, it's time to get started. Venus enters your career house on September 5th, activating your visibility and amping up your charm around your bosses and peers. Mercury goes retrograde in this time sector, so do expect some misunderstanding or the need to revise projects. This could especially happen around September 10th full moon. If drama is in this in this wait a minute, if drama is indicated within a social group during this first part of Mercury retrograde from September 9th to September 22nd, try staying out of it. A blast from the past could also arrive now in the form of an ex. Sure, have fun, but don't make things serious until you know for sure it's worth it. Either way, new and better friendships arrive at the September 25th magical new year. Capricorn, beginning of the month has you dreaming about other cultures, the day-to-day routine. Planning a trip could be the antidote because with most of the planets in retrograde motion, September likely won't be a high month when it comes to productivity or revenue. The beginning of the month has you dreaming about other cultures traveling, especially your regular day-to-day routine. Planning a trip could be an antidote because with most of the planets repeats in retrograde motion, September likely won't be a high month when it comes to productivity or revenues. This is especially true for you as Mercury goes retrograde in your career sector from September 9th to September 22nd. You will most likely need to readjust your workload and redo or revise projects. But at a deeper level, you will also be asked to rethink your career and life goals. While this is not a good time to look for a new job or launch a business, it is a favorable time to reconsider your career trajectory. How you say that? Major emphasis around this subject arrived under the magic of the fall equinox on September 22nd. So pay attention to the signs. Aquarius. Both of your ruling planets, Saturn and Uranus, are now retrograde, slowing the pace of your life. Whew. This is a good thing as life has been moving too fast even for you. Add Mercury retrograde in your house of relationships from September 9th to September 22nd, and people from the past could come back for closure. Get ready for the major blast from the past, Aquarius. Both of your ruling planets, okay, Saturn and Uranus, are both retrograde, slowing the pace of your life. This is a good thing as life has been moving too fast, even for you. Add Mercury retrograde in house of relationships from da 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 da. And people from the past could come back for the closure. If an shows back up, note the word closure. The energy does pick up a bit and gets sunnier when a full fall equinox arrives on September 22nd, activating your thirst for adventure and rich life experiences. A vacation or at least a weekend getaway could be the best medicine now. It's been quite the year for your sign, so why not give yourself a pat on the back and book a trip to that exotic destination you've been dreaming of? Hello. Pisces. Summer is an important month for you, Pisces. The Virgo sun puts emphasis on your relationship, so you could be spending a lot of more time with your people than usual. Improving your connections is your vibe now, and that is exactly what Mercury retrograde will help you do. Okay. The Virgo sun puts emphasis on your relationship, so you could be spending a lot of more time with people than usual. Improving your connections is your vibe now, and that is exactly what Mercury retrograde will help you do, refining communication and renegotiating the boundaries, and the give and take within your connections will be the norm starting September 9th. September 10th, full moon occurs in your sign, bringing an important event or project to a climax and your once in a year opportunity to abandon habits that no longer serve you. If you are in a committed partnership, there could be serious talks happening between you when the sun enters Libra on the full equinox. Alternatively, you could be focused on transforming an aspect of your life that is extremely important to you. Okay. 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 We go. Okay. I'm gonna come back. Well, I put a quote. Just because you don't believe in something, don't mean it's not real. Hello. Okay, I got some. I'm gonna do a part two. I got some more stuff. Oh, hi. How you doing? I'm sorry, I didn't notice you. I was reading. Head down. ESCOXVQ. I don't know what that means. You still here? Give me a like if you don't mind. Yeah, I'm gonna come back with part two because I just wanted to get that out before I start anything else. And what is it? 12. Okay. Got some things to do right quick. Um, yeah. So thanks for coming, y'all. Like, subscribe, share, and comment with me. I want to do something. Put this in here. Put on in. So I should put part one. My fault. Um, I haven't even talked about Leon's in 8th house. We'll come back. All right. Thanks, y'all, for listening. Like, subscribe, share, and comment. I'll be back. Part two.